There- There's a couple of words that it's very useful to bear in mind. One is consistency, and the other, well, it was very similar, continuity, and to remember things that are valuable to you, to remind yourself of things that you learnt or did or experienced, and reconnect with them. And sometimes the little skills or approaches that we have in the class, they come and go quite quickly. You know, they're said, you touch them, they seem valuable, and then, you know, later in the week, life swamps them and it's difficult to remember them. So memory and remembering these little things is an important part of a path of development and growth, and being consistent, remembering things. You know, you might not remember, you know, people's names, but you can remember, you know, things that are important, qualities, approaches, and just having that as an intention is a really good thing. And I just wanted to mention this because you might think that this is very different from grasping onto an experience. It's actually more savouring and experiencing, honouring, acknowledging something positive that happened and how it happened, and being open to that process again. You know? So you might have got quite absorbed or present or content and even joyous in a meditation. You honour that, you appreciate that, which is different from going, I'm going to get that again. You might not say with those words, but even I wouldn't actually. Mostly. So, going back to my very first topics about mindfulness as being aware of underlying qualities that are on the side of aversion, pickiness, criticism, cutting off from people because you just negate them, saying, oh, it's not worth thinking about them or meeting them. On the one hand, and on the other hand, the appreciative acknowledgement of people. Like, I'll give you an example actually, which I thought was interesting. In that third stage of the meditation that I was guiding, I brought someone to mind who I respect, admire, but they really irritate me. It's not you, definitely, but you know them. But we live in the same house. So. It's obvious. But you can have both. That's my point. You can have annoyance, irritation, frustration, you know, even objective criticism. Like, if they did that, they'd be a lot happier, and if they stopped doing that, they definitely would be a lot happier. So that's a bit different. That objective criticism is different from, you know, just a harshness, you know, a sort of harsh judgmental wiping out of them. But the reason that I emphasize being precise is it has to do with recognizing qualities. Like, say, for example, this person I had in mind, he's very assiduous. You know, he stays with the process. Things happen, he gets in the way, he gets rid of himself, he comes back. So that determination to keep staying with his practice was the thing I focused on. And that then allowed my feeling of respect and trust and appreciation and gladness of him really grow, because it was in relationship to something perceived rather than just an idea, oh, he sticks with it. It's a bit mental, not a bit mental, it's, you know what I mean, conceptual. So part of this process that I'm really encouraging you to enter into is recognition of qualities and whether they have an expansive, positive, developmental feeling, or whether they're closing you down, cutting you off, poisoning you, you know. Like I think, for example, an example of that is where you feel aggrieved about something and you just can't let it go, and it poisons you. You can't just see the person anymore. You just feel wronged. You know, it's an example of that. They did that to me, you know, and they were wrong, you know. So I think it's very useful, important to one's development to be able to recognize what that feels like. Not just have the word, oh, I'm aggrieved, but actually what that feels like, and be able to say, and this is a little skill, ability here. I'll pick, you know, I've mentioned aggrieved, so I'll just stick with that for the moment as an example. If I stick with this being aggrieved and don't deal with it, what would I look like in 5 years or 10 years' time? So just imagine, and it can be really horrifying. You think, I don't want to become like that, you know. Or, you know, if you're mean-minded to someone and you can't let go of it and you're going to continue with it, what would I look like if I just carry on like that? You know, and you get a visual of your facial expression. And that's very important, because it gives you an opportunity to assess that. Do I really want to become like that? And if the answer is no, there are some no's that are quite positive, and that's definitely a positive no. No, I don't want it. So it gives you a clear path, in a way, to check for that tendency. Blaming, irritation with people, being picky, finding fault. And I mean, it can be quite embarrassing sometimes to notice that one is like that, but that's part of the process, actually. It just is. And then, on the other side, it's in terms of your own experience, starting to notice when you feel more beneficent. Nice word, isn't it? You know, more generously minded, and what that feels like to you. Not just what you do, but how it feels, being more benevolent, more generally more friendly and kind in your mental attitude to yourself as well, rather than harsh and overcritical and doubting. So these qualities, they can be pointed inward as well as outward, you know. And I have a little rule, personal rule. Internally, I don't call people's names, like you're a Wally, or for example. It's obviously not helpful. It's imprecise, yeah, and generally negative, and doesn't take into account other possibilities. That might be unwally-ish. So, and in our house, if anyone starts calling people names, I really I don't like it. It's just so unhelpful. if little snide nicknames start coming in, don't like it. But my point is, it's more an internal thing, because these kinds of labels of oneself and of others narrow you down to a negative perspective that doesn't allow you to take in other positive qualities and things about them, and things that they do, for example. And sometimes it can be a surprise. I came in this morning and there was someone there, he's not part of the class, but I've known him a very long time. And he said, I really appreciated you coming to that order day and cooking for us. And I thought no one had noticed, actually. So it was really nice, to actually hear an expression. It makes a difference. So I want to come on to this quality of appreciation and expressing appreciation. I think sometimes in circles that one moves in, it's not known. I teach at a really big bank, huge development bank, wonderful, actually, it's a really good bank. But when I arrived, there was an atmosphere of fear. And I'm not exaggerating. People wouldn't say anything self-revealing about themselves in any way, because there was fear that it would be used against them and they wouldn't get promotion. And I noticed this and I heard it straight away. It's like 10 or 11 years. Every week I've been working with this bank. And basically I countered it at every opportunity, on every level, directors and everyone. And now their culture has completely changed about that. And someone said recently that those mindfulness sessions in the Mindfulness Club were way ahead of the game on that, and they really turned things around. So now people can say, oh, good job. Yeah, well done, that was great. I really liked the way you did that. So the thing about appreciation is almost at the center of a constellation of positive qualities. So confidence, for example, it's not the same as appreciation, but they're very connected. If you appreciate something, even about yourself or others, there's allied to it is the possibility of this, in a way, very profound, potentially profound quality of confidence arising. Now, the thing about confidence is that it's very amorphous. It's actually quite difficult to recognize what confidence is, So it takes application regularly over time to go, this is what confidence feels like. Confidence in oneself, one's qualities. And the very nature of this relationship, say internally, of appreciation and confidence is very direct. That you appreciate that you're making an effort, you're doing your best, rather than, oh, there you go, and you failed, But I know, okay, so it didn't work, but you did your best and you're keeping going, you're staying with it. That appreciation triggers something deeper of confidence in the process and confidence in yourself doing it. And confidence actually is a primary foundation to growth and development. If you don't have confidence, it's very difficult to grow and develop, because doubt will come in saying, well, you know what I mean. It just undermines you. So the recognition of qualities, the description of how it feels, is really important, and the precision of it. So a couple of weeks ago in the keynote talk, someone was talking about verbs being important in, what you do is important in the Sangha and the community. I'm talking now more about adjectives. The description of what it's like in a class, the connectedness, the feeling of warmth, and appreciation. These, having a sensitivity to these positive qualities within you allows you to recognize them in someone else. And when someone is recognized, it has a huge catalytic effect. Someone can feel seen and come into something positive.